Humanity believed it was alone, or at least that it was the only version of itself that mattered. The stars had been mapped, the signals analyzed, and the silence had been explained away as empty space. When Earth finally mastered deep-fold travel, the celebration lasted for years, because faster than light meant destiny. Colonies bloomed around distant suns, each one carrying the same histories, languages, and mistakes. They called themselves baseline humans, assuming the name was temporary. On the edge of explored space, the research vessel Horizon Drift detected something impossible. A structured signal hidden inside cosmic background noise, shaped like language, but not quite matching any known code. At first the scientists believed it was alien, something ancient and vast. Then the translation engine produced a chilling result. The signal was human, or close enough to hurt. The words were simple and terrifying. "We are not you, but we are human." Panic rippled through command councils and colonial networks. Had Earth lied about genetic purity, or had someone rewritten humanity long ago? The Horizon Drift followed the signal to a dead system wrapped in dust and radiation. There they found a fleet, silent and scarred. Ships built by hands that understood human physics, but rejected human aesthetics. The hulls were blackened, layered with adaptive plating that seemed almost alive. Boarding teams entered one drifting vessel and found remains. Skeletons shaped like humans, but taller, denser, reinforced. Their skulls were elongated, their spines strengthened, their bones etched with growth lattice. These were humans built for war, not survival. Records recovered from the ship told fragments of a story Earth had erased during the first century of spaceflight. Humanity had experimented. They had created branches, soldiers designed for vacuum, miners designed for pressure, thinkers designed for calculation. When ethics councils collapsed under fear, those altered humans were exiled, cast out beyond mapped space and declared lost. Now they had returned, or at least one of them had found its way back, and the silence of the universe suddenly felt crowded. The other humans called themselves the Divergent. They had no single world of origin, only a memory of exile shared like a scar. Their ancestors had been launched in generation fleets with limited supplies and no promise of rescue. Earth had called it mercy. The Divergent called it a slow execution. Instead of dying, they adapted. Bodies changed across generations, shaped by engineered genes and brutal necessity. Some Divergent could survive hard vacuum for minutes, their blood carrying oxygen like a living reservoir. Others could think in parallel, holding dozens of tactical models in their minds at once. They built societies without nostalgia, because longing wasted energy. Their culture valued function over comfort, truth over reassurance. They did not hate baseline humans. Hate required emotional luxury. What they felt was distance, when contact was finally made. The Divergent ambassador did not threaten or beg. They stated a fact: we exist, and our survival intersects with yours. Earth demanded accountability for the fleet. Near its borders, the Divergent replied that the fleet was a memorial, not a weapon. It marked the place where one of their major lineages had gone extinct, fighting something worse than Earth. That was when fear truly set in. If the Divergent had enemies powerful enough to erase entire branches of humanity, then the galaxy was far more hostile than believed. The Divergent offered in exchange history for history, truth for truth. As data flowed between them, humanity learned what the stars really held. Predatory intelligences that harvested civilizations, synthetic gods born from failed control systems, ancient war machines that recognized intelligence as a resource. The Divergent had survived by becoming hotter, colder, and faster to adapt. Earth had survived by hiding, unknowingly protected by the very exiles it had cast away. Every major threat that approached Sol had been diverted or destroyed far from human space. The baseline leaders faced an impossible realization. Humanity owed its survival to the other humans it pretended never existed. The Divergent shared memories of a war erased from baseline records, not by accident, but by design. When the first galaxy-scale predator discovered humanity, Earth had panicked. They knew they could not win, so they made a choice. They offered something else to fight in their place. The Divergent fleets were unleashed, armed with experimental technologies and impossible missions. They fought across dead stars and broken dimensions. Entire branches of divergent humanity burned themselves out. To slow the enemy advance, Earth survived by staying silent. After the war, Earth erased all evidence. Fearing their guilt would tear civilization apart, the Divergent were left to rebuild, alone. Now, millennia later, the enemy stirred again, and the Divergent no longer had the numbers to face it alone. They did not ask Earth for forgiveness, they asked for partnership, not as creators and creations, but as equals, shaped by different hells. Many on Earth resisted, clinging to purity, myths and comfortable lies. Others listened, recognizing a familiar pain in the divergent story. Humanity had always fractured under pressure. This was no different, just larger. The first joint fleet was formed in orbit over Mars, baseline ships, gleaming and elegant, divergent vessels dark and brutal. They did not look like one species. But when they moved together, the patterns aligned, two expressions of the same origin, finally facing the universe together. Astra's combat against the returning threat was unlike anything Earth had imagined. Space bent, time fractured, and causality became a weapon. Baseline humans brought creativity and unpredictability. Divergent humans brought resilience and precision. Together they held the line where neither could. Alone, on shattered worlds, soldiers from both branches fought side by side. Differences faded in the face of extinction. Wounded divergent warriors were treated by baseline medics. Baseline pilots trusted divergent tacticians with their lives. Slowly, something changed. The word human expanded. It no longer meant a specific genome or birthplace. It meant choice under pressure. It meant standing against the dark even when abandoned once before. When the final enemy construct collapsed into itself, the galaxy exhaled. Victory was costly, but real. The divergent did not demand control or revenge. They asked for recognition. A place in the story that had erased them. Earth agreed, not as an act of charity, but of honesty. Asterisk in the centuries that followed, humanity evolved openly. New branches formed by choice, not fear. Some humans adapted for ocean worlds. Others, for deep-time exploration. The divergent no longer stood apart. They became teachers, warnings, and proof. Children on Earth learned that humanity had more than one face, and that survival often comes from those pushed beyond the edge. Monuments were raised not just on Earth, but in deep space. They carried a single shared message. Humanity is not singular. It never was. And in that truth, the species finally found its strength.